What's going on, people? It's GBP baby. It's currently Sunday, the 21st of May. We're going to do a weekly review. Friday, we can see that we traded higher in a retracement, quite expansively actually. We traded into this fair value gap. As you can see, traded back into this fair value gap and then left it again. So nothing really much happened on Friday other than the fact that, we had quite an expansive move upwards. It tried to reach above it and then we've turned around here again. So I haven't really got much to say on Friday. And the week in general, again, very choppy, not good price action in my eyes. But hopefully next week will be a lot more cleaner in terms of delivery. So I am going to jump up to the weekly, and then I'm going to start to mark out the levels I'm looking out for in terms of where I'd like to see price reach for, like the maximum I'd like to see it reach in terms of highs, and then we'll start looking at low. We'll start looking at low targets. So this is obviously our weekly range. We have a huge wick like this, and when I see a wick like this, I tend to work out the 50% level, which will be consequent encroachment. So I'm going to do that. I'm actually going to change my trading range. Change that like that, and then we put 1.25017. Also, guys, don't forget to check out the video I posted yesterday. The welcome to my channel. It's just a quick rundown of basically who I am, who you're listening to. So in terms of the weekly range, we can see we have this weekly imbalance here, volume imbalance. We traded through that back in April, and as you can see, now that we've had a break in market structure, I'm expecting lower prices anyway. So I am going to draw this out as a draw on liquidity, because clearly we've only delivered on the upside here, so I'm expecting price going to deliver on the downside. So this is my first weekly target in terms of where I'd like to see price drawn to. And then there's also another fair value gap here, which has been delivered on the downside and then on the upside, and we haven't came back and touched it yet. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was like a low that's made, maybe not next week, but the week after. So I'm not going to look too far. I'm not going to be concentrating on this just now, because this is the first PD array weekly PD array I have my eyes on. So in terms of draw of liquidity, this coming week, I want to see us trade into this area here, and then we'll drop that to the daily and see what we can find. So you can see there's a lot of lows all amongst here, and it can look quite messy, especially like this. We have a bullish order block here, and here's that imbalance also appearing on the daily. So I can imagine that price is going to definitely want to draw it into this area, and I can imagine it'll be quite consolidated, considering how choppy this area is in general. So this can cause a lot of resistance, making it high resistance, which isn't necessarily the best of conditions. So I will have to be very careful, but this area is definitely a big this area is definitely somewhere I'm looking for us to trade into. So this is that 50% level of the weekly wick. So if we are to trade higher, this is the highest this is the highest I'd want to see it trade. That happens to also be around the 50% level of this bearish order block. We have a bearish order block here, and we also have a bearish order block here. So if we drop down to the 4 hour, it might be more clear as to what we're looking at here. So let me see. Right. So we have that. I'm just going to mark all these levels out as potential highs. 2493. This is the 50% of this order block. That would be what we call the mean threshold. So I wouldn't want to see price trade above that. I'm going to make this one thinner so I know that this is from the daily. And then I have my eyes on this as well. But let's drop down to the 4 hour and have a look. So we have this swing high here that we made on Friday. I would not be surprised if price took out stops resting above here, and again traded up into the 50% of the daily bearish order block, which would be this. So, and it happens that the weekly wick 50% level and the order block 50% level is lying in this fair value gap here. And you got to remember that ICT's concepts when it comes to order block, when it comes to fair value gaps, fair value gaps get drawn out across candles, like we can draw them out across candles. So I'm going to do that. And to be honest, I'd like to see this act as resistance. So we'll put sell side here, buy side here, buy side liquidity here, make it a little bit thicker, and then I'd want to see price reach into here and start to continue to break down after that. But yeah, so why wouldn't I want price reach up here? Well, we have a swing high here and price done that here. So this liquidity resting above this high here has been taken, whereas liquidity resting above here hasn't yet been taken. Yes, you could say we traded higher here, but I see this as just a simple break in market structure rather than a sweeping off liquidity, if that makes sense. So I don't need price to necessarily trade above here. And again, in terms of the weekly range, if we look at the entire weekly range of last week, from here down to here, we can see that it will offer us a premium if it is to trade above here, which could then be used as a selling point to then start to break lower and run into this blue area that I shaded out on the daily and weekly. So you can see I'm using a lot of different levels to organize my weekly expectations. So these are the things you need to do to understand that, okay, it's not a matter of going one direction. It's gonna draw to certain areas before it wants to go to other directions, if that makes sense. And that's why I'm expecting us to draw around here definitely, and then start to break down. And again, the overall bias is bearish, so price shouldn't need to necessarily go above these highs or above these highs. It doesn't need to trade that high up. Furthermore, we haven't actually, although we've taken out these stops here, we're trading into an imbalance. So once we've traded into that imbalance, then it'll be fair for price to start looking for fair value within the buy side. However, we haven't actually reached it yet. Of course, we traded to it, turned around at it, but we haven't traded into it yet. So that's another reason I'm expecting us to just dip up here and then start to break down. Also, optimal entry. This is a classic ICT concept, which with the Fibonacci, the 0.7 or 5 level as the perfect entry. So that's to our analysis. So let's carry on looking. Let's go down to the 1 hour, see what we can see. Wow, we can see relative equal highs. We can see a beautiful fair value gap also here. So I'm going to mark that out within the fair value gap, which also happens to be between the 50% level of that wick on the weekly and the 50% level of that daily bearish order block. So again, all of these things are coming into my analysis to act as reason as to why it's likely to turn around at this point. Clear swing high here, and we're obviously bearish, and again, we've got relative equal lows down here. That's the south side I want to see get taken. So I'm going to mark out south side. Another reason, I don't know if this is going to make sense. Another reason I'm not expecting price to trade higher than these levels here or here is because when we moved from this level up to here, we didn't take out sell side liquidity down here. So as far as I'm concerned, this is simply just a retracement, and this is going to retrace as much as it needs to before it takes out this south side. So say we took out south side here, so say it came down and then took out south side and then moved higher, it'd be a different story. However, we did not do that. And again, this is where the whole coding, technical analysis, like computer science, kind of comes in, as in the if and then concepts. So like, if we took out this, then I'd expect that. However, that didn't happen. Therefore, I'm not anticipating that. So again, this is the way I'm looking at the market. This is the way I'm thinking. And obviously, I'm not sure. We haven't had, you know how I am about Mondays. So we'll see how Monday trades, and then from then on, we'll have a much clearer perception of what to expect from the week. But obviously, this is only Sunday, and the market's open in a matter of hours. So here's 15 minutes. It makes these relative equal lows down here look much more clear. These relative equal highs up here look much more clear. And again, just adds more reason as to why I'd want to see price start to trade higher into this area. A classic week would typically look like Monday consolidating around this, Tuesday making the high, and then breaking down for the rest of the week. But again, we haven't traded Monday yet. I'm not sure how much of a rush the market's in, so I'm not going to be making those kind of predictions or expectations. I am going to quickly look at my at the economic news releases this week. This week for GBP, we have inflation rate on Wednesday, and we have FOMC minutes on Wednesday as well. Wow. And we have, there's quite a lot of high impact news this week, especially on the Friday. So when I see things like that, when I see there's lots of news that's going to release on the Friday, I expect some kind of run to liquidity to be happening, like an expansion. So that's good to keep an eye out for. So yeah, I'm going to mark out my daily dividers, and I'll be right back with you. Right, so as you can see, I've added the daily dividers: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Sunday. And I've also marked out this is Sunday's opening from last week, and then this is last week's midpoint. And the reason I've marked these levels out is because, again, Sunday levels, I've preached this multiple times, very important. You can even see our price traded around it on the Friday, dipped back below it. I wouldn't be surprised again if price kissed it, traded lower, or went for the sell side. Like, it's going to treat this Sunday level as either resistance or support. Even though it happened last week, price will still refer to it. So that's why I have that drawn out. Also, depending on where we open this week, we'll obviously draw out Sunday's opening of this week. Once Sunday opens, we'll draw out Sunday's opening, obviously, and then we have to see our price trades around it. Because as you can see, last week, it acts as resistance and then support, resistance, support. Here we traded to the 50% level of last week, and it's the same thing. So like, that's why next week I want to see our price trades around the 50% level of last week's level, because I'm bearish. Anything above the 50% level of last week's range I see as a premium, which is where I want to be selling, and then anything below would be a discount. However, with us being bearish, I am only going to be looking for sales, preferably above this level here, which is the 50% level of last week. So that's good to have on your charts, and it's not even necessarily to use as like a trading. It's not like I say, oh, it's traded to this, so now I'm going to hit sell. It's just to see the way that price treats those levels and how it acts around them. Is it trading aggressively through them? Is it finding resistance there? Is it finding support? And all of these can add to your trading conditions, especially when you're looking for entries. For example, let's say there's a London session and we're trading around this level and we're looking for higher prices, and there's a fair value gap there. All of this can add together as to reason why you should be buying around this level. So like, that's why I like to have these levels left on my chart. And also, again, you got to remember this algorithm refers to these levels: the high, the low, the open, the close, and the midpoint of every range, regardless of whether it's weekly, daily, hourly, 5-minute. It's referring to these levels, so it's important to have them marked out. So yeah, that's pretty much my analysis for GBP really. I want to see a high made around this level, and I want to see us trade down into the south side liquidity. Although we've traded below this level here, and it looks like we might dip round into this fair value gap resting here. The high left here, I doubt price is going to leave that high untouched before going into that sell side. As in, so I'm looking at that high now, and it's like there's a lot of buys saw that up there, and smart money would want to use that liquidity in order to sell that liquidity so that it can release their stops down here, which is why I'm expecting us to probably consolidate a little bit, move higher, take out this buy side, and then drop down into the sell side. It would genuinely shock me if we went straight down to that sell side. Although if we did do that, then I'd expect that buy side to get taken. So regardless, I'm expecting either one to get taken. It's just, I think it's probable that we're going to take this buy side, take out these relative equal highs, beautiful fair value gap on the hourly, and then probably trade for the rest of the week down into the sell side liquidity. But obviously we'll have to see what Monday says. We do not trade Mondays. I repeat, we do not trade Mondays. But yeah, let's take a quick look at DXY, because I haven't actually seen how DXY is doing. So and I was actually recommended to change the channel I use for DXY, because I'm using Capital.com, but I should be using TVC. So I'm going to quickly do that. So we're on TVC now. We can see that DXY last 2 weeks has had very bullish momentum. We traded into this fair value gap, traded above it even, turned away from it. I'm expecting us to trade deeper into that. And then we've also got a fair value gap up here as well. So I'm going to mark these two levels out as draws and liquidity. When I see price wick through like this and trade away from it, it just reminds me that, okay, we've delivered on downside, and although we traded up through it here, volume hasn't traded in there, which is why I still see this as a draw for liquidity. So that's why I have that marked out. If we look at the total range we're in as well on the weekly, which is here to here, you can see we've just traded to the 50% level. I would like to see us trade through that 50% level and find support. So I can imagine that's going to happen. But like I said, I'd have to see an aggressive trade through that 50% level and then a turnaround. So I can imagine it's going to consolidate a little bit around here. That tends to happen once we reach 50% levels of ranges. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was to be an outcome. Right, so here's another fair value gap, which is right by this big bearish order block. Happens to be there, so I'm going to mark that out on the daily as well. We can see we traded right to it and turned around. So I'm going to make that orange. So in terms of sell side draw, we have to look at the range we're trading in. We can see we've got a low here and a high here, so we can look at the 50% level of there, and any PD raise resting below that will offer us a discount on the DXY. Not that I'm trading DXY, but I know that again, with that low that I'm expecting DXY to make, I'll be expecting GBP to be making that high or something around that. So we have this fair value gap here in the discount, lined up with optimal entry and a bullish order block. So this here seems like a very probable draw for DXY on the sell side. So I am going to draw out this order block, and I am going to draw out that fair value gap resting just above it. If you made it this far through the video, please hit like and don't forget to subscribe. I realize that 77% of my viewers are not subscribed, which makes no sense to me, because you're going to keep seeing my videos pop up, so you might as well subscribe. Right, so here's some sell side liquidity resting down here. Again, acting for more confluence as to why I expect DXY to trade down into this. I don't want to make it too messy because we've already got a lot of boxes drawn over the place. But basically what I'm saying is that I want to see price come down, dip into this liquidity, grab stops, sell side stops, and then use that to push higher and trade into that, was it a daily? Up into this daily fair value gap here, and maybe into here. Obviously we have this massive bearish order block, and because of that, I'd expect resistance to be I'd expect there to be some kind of resistance as we're trading into that, and we already witnessed that here Like, we're going to start to have some resistance pushing into this area. However, we know that we can at least trade to consequent encroachment of this entire range. So I'm going to mark out that level as well, which will be not consequent encroachment, mean threshold when it comes to order blocks. So that's going to be the 0.5 level off this level here. 104.273. How long have we been talking? 20 minutes already. Wow. I'm going to try finish this up now. So I'm not going to go down to the 15. I'm not going to go down to too small time frames when it comes to Dixie. Again, I use Dixie as just a reference. I also use Euro as a reference, but I'll look over Euro tomorrow on Monday, because again, time and once we have Monday's trading finished, we can have we'll have a much clearer perception of what's going on with price action. So that's the mean threshold of this daily bearish order block. So if price is to reach up here, that's the highest I'd expect it to trade. A fair value gap covered with that, both on the buy side and the sell side. So price was delivered on the upside, then it was delivered on the downside. Let me highlight this. So this is the likely place where price would turn around. We have a lot of boxes drawn out. It's looking a bit messy, but I'll just run over it one more time. I want to see Dixie make a low around here, take out this sell side liquidity and trade into this fair value gap, and then start to push higher into this area, resting above there. Also, we've just traded to the 50% level, so I am expecting some kind of rebound off of that, and that's what we're going to probably witness, and we've already started to witness. So probably tomorrow we'll probably touch it one more time and then start to trade lower. But I don't want to make any predictions before Monday's trading, as per usual. That's all from me. This has been GBP Baby. Of course, we've been looking at GBP. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. You know how it goes. And I'll catch you on Monday when we'll have a much clearer and better view of what price wants to be doing this week. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to watch my new recent video called Welcome to My Channel. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.